Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I have the opportunity to help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today, I have an amazing guest. I'm absolutely excited and so pumped up to have this guest on my show. When I was first introduced to this person a few months ago, I saw his story, I saw what he does, and I'm absolutely floored. This guy is a beast. He is absolutely amazing, phenomenal, and he's been able to inspire so many people in the world because of his story. He's been able to help change so many lives because of his story, and it's just somebody I knew I had to have on my show. He is an entrepreneur, he's a trainer, he's a filmmaker, he is an inspirer of many people, he's a speaker, he speaks all over the world. He's an author of the book, If Your Body Were a Car, You Would Not Treat It That Way. And he has an absolute passion to guide people to have better fitness and a better life. Now, if that's not impressive enough, he has done all the runs, all the races that you can even think of. He's a triathlete. He's an Ironman. He's an Ultraman 4 times. He's a Spartan racer. He's also an Ultra Beast. He's done so many different types of races. It's absolutely amazing. Now, if that's not amazing already, check this clip out.
It feels so good to be back. I kind of teared up a little bit getting off the plane and smelling that warm Hawaiian air, seeing the palm trees. The last time I was here, things didn't go so well.
Yeah, Scotty just went down right in front of me, probably doing 60, 70k an hour.
It just shocks you to the core.
I didn't think he was going to survive that crash.
And you're just like, what am I even looking at here?
When we got him here, I don't think the people that saw him realized how badly injured he was.
When he first came in, it was hard to think of him going back to triathlon, let alone going back to Ultraman. I think he was talking about going back to Ultraman before he could even reach above his shoulder.
Ultraman is based on the values of Aloha, Ohana, Kokua. It really is something more than those 3 words to us, though. It's the way we live our lives here in the islands. We help each other.
I have friends all over the world because of Ultraman.
Aloha and congratulations. We have reviewed your application and are pleased to accept you into the 2018 Ultraman World Championships.
He took all those steps, and of course, here we are. You know, we're back on the Big Island in 2018, and he's done it.
The prize was getting to Kona. The struggle has been the last 3 years after the accident. You know, the victory's probably just getting to the start line.
As soon as I heard Scott was coming back, I was like, there's no way I could miss this.
You can't do this race without your crew. They're your lifeblood.
I'm really a little bit scared now. It looks like there's plenty of time, but it isn't. No, there isn't. There's a long uphill now. It's 16 miles to Waimea and mostly uphill.
And here we are now approaching the final half an hour of official competition time.
Wow, that gives me chills every time I see it. So please welcome the Ultra Warrior himself, Mr. Scott McDermott.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. That was absolutely amazing.
Thanks.
I still enjoy watching it. I'm like, ooh, I wonder what happens next.
You do leave a little cliffhanger there at the end, so I'm very excited for that film. It's something I would love to watch very soon here. I know you're going to be talking about that later. But for those of us who for those people who don't really know who you are and what you do, aside from all that athletic ability, I know you're a trainer and also a coach. So how did you get to where you are today, and what do you do now?
The best way to explain that is to go back to the middle of the 90s. I was in a career of architecture, and I was at a desk all day long. I was deadline to deadline. I was trying to be junior partner in the firm. So I was working really hard to impress my bosses and to be excellent at my job and to work my way up the corporate ladder. And I got fat and sick. I wasn't taking care of myself. I had no idea how to eat. And I love sugar. So I just ate a lot of junk food, and I was 230, 240 pounds and no muscle strength at all. Like I love to ski, and I would get a trip arranged with my buddies, and we would go out. I would do run one, and my legs were exhausted after one run. It was brutal. And I started to have all kinds of problems, health problems. I had broke my back in high school in a gymnastics accident. I cracked some vertebrae and stuff, and I was told I'd be in a wheelchair by 40, which whatever, doctors have to, worst case scenario, things like that. But so I was afraid to do things. I was very cautious, and I was getting tinnitus, ringing in my ears. I had allergies to basically summer. I would have really bad circulation. It was just a wreck, and I kept going to all kinds of different specialists, and they could never figure out what was wrong with me. The specific specialist would test his area, her area, and it would be negative. No, it's not this. It's not this. It's not this. It's not this. Well, after about a year of tests, you're just like, okay, this is ridiculous. My life is a disaster. I'm 29. Is this really what we're doing here? And I finally had to sit down with my doctor, my general practitioner at the time, and I wrote a 2-page letter. I said, hey, this is all the stuff that's going on. And he said, well, is this some kind of a complaint against the medical system? And I just said, no, but you see 100 people a day. I'm one guy, but this is my life, and it sucks. And I need you to look at this, because it's what we keep doing is I'm not getting anywhere. So he finally did a physical and had a chat with me, and he came to this terms. He's like, listen, kid, you need to eat better. You got to stop with all the sugar and the junk, and you need to exercise, and you need to get some sleep and de-stress. You need to drink some water. Like you're not going to make it to 30 if you keep going the way you're going. Because I was working 100 hours a week, and I was just eating junk food, and they didn't have Red Bull and energy drinks back then. So I would just take caffeine tablets because I didn't like coffee or tea. So I just stopped, and I went, okay, I'll do that, because that's not a surgery or a pill so I went and joined a gym, and I met a trainer, and I started learning everything I could about nutrition. And then I just got 100% hooked on fitness. And within 5 months, I went from Pillsbury Doughboy to I had a 6-pack, and I was just ripped. And all of my health problems were gone. All of them, they were gone.
Wow.
I realized that the tinnitus, the ringing in my ears, that was so loud at night that my wife couldn't talk to me when we were in bed at night. It was like a gong in my head. That was from sugar consumption, like too much sugar. And once I stopped that, the ringing went away. Like it was amazing. All of these things fixed. And so I got certified as a trainer, and I started working part-time in one of the gyms. And then I kind of was like, you know what? This is what I want to do with my life. And the pressure was building, because the celebration where they were going to assign junior partners in the firm was coming, and I was on that list. And so 2 weeks before I was an associate partner, I quit.
Oh, wow.
And I went to work in a gym, and my wife was like, are you sure about this? And it was a scary decision in a sense, but I was like, I'm at the top of the ladder on the wrong building. I can't lock in. So I quit, and I went to work in a gym part-time as a trainer. I worked in a couple gyms.
Sorry to cut in here. When you went in to do that quitting, when you quit, okay?
Yeah.
You were scared inside, but were you like confident going in and just go, here you go?
Yeah. It was 100% moment of clarity. It was one of those moments when all of the cells in your body are vibrating, because you know this is what you're doing, and there's no There's no other thought. This is just what I like. I was so clear that was non-negotiable.
Mm.
It was a moment of clarity. And I've had several of those in my life where you just know, like when I asked my wife to marry me, I literally woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, I'm gonna ask Louie to marry me tomorrow.
Wow.
And then I went back to sleep. Like it was just super clear. And so, yeah, I built an 18,000 square foot gym, 15,000 square foot gym in Sylvan Lake, Alberta. We started at 10,000 square feet. We were so successful within 5 years, we expanded another 5,000 square feet, built more on the building, and just was living that passion of helping other people get fit and live a brilliant life. And in that process, there was a triathlon in our town, a half Ironman triathlon, 2K swim, 90K bike, and a half marathon. And I thought, I wonder if I could finish one of those, because I had been so focused on strength training and functional fitness and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, I could not drown for periods of time. Like I'd never swum laps, but I'm like, I can not drown. I can swim. And I taught spin classes, so I knew I could ride a bicycle indoors.
Mm-hmm.
I used to ride a bike outside in high school. How bad could it be? And before I broke my back, I used to run a lot. So, but my back's fairly healed. So I'm gonna give this a shot. And I started training. I hired a coach. I started training for a half Ironman triathlon, and I was 8 in my age group and crushed it. And I got a spot to Ironman Canada 5 weeks later. So in 5 weeks, I doubled all my distances, which I do not recommend. And I went to Ironman Canada, and I was in the top, I don't know, 20% or something like that. I did a sub 12-hour first ever Ironman, and I was just hooked. Like the whole direction of my life went, okay, we're going that way now. And yeah, then I got into Ironmans. I did those for a while. And after my third Ironman, I was at a race in Soyuz, BC, and I qualified for Team Canada for the ITU World Championships. Then I went to Holland, and then I went to Australia, and and I was racing in the US and with the flag on my back, which was insane. So that was really cool. And then I was training for, I think, Ironman number 4 or 5, I can't remember. And I was having lunch with some friends, and there was a guy there, his name was Nick Mallet. And Nick, he's Australian, super, super nice guy. He's been in the sport for ages. And we were just chatting it up. And he goes, Mike, you got to give Ultraman a try. And I was like, shut up. Those guys are nuts. And he goes, nah, Mike, you can do it. Think about it. And I won't wreck his accent anymore, but he's like, well, once you get swimming, you get into a groove and you can just keep swimming. I'm like, oh, 10 kilometers a long swim. He goes, yeah, but once you get in the groove, you got a safety kayak. Like, you can do that. I'm like, okay. He goes, and I know you can bike. You're an excellent cyclist. That's your thing. So he's like, yeah, day 1 bike, 145K, no worries. Day 2 bike, 275K. Yeah, it's long. There's a couple of mountain ranges in the way. You're going to have to push, but you could get that done in 12 hours. And I was like, yeah, but Nick, a double marathon on day 3, come on. Like, for me, the run has always been the hardest part. Well, for everybody, it's a pounding after everything else. And he just looked at me and he goes, Scott, run the first marathon slowly in 4 hours. And you have 7 hours, 8 hours to finish another marathon. He says, you can walk a second marathon in 8 hours. And I went, ding. You're right. I signed up the next week. Like, wow. Might have been the next day. I think I had to get hold of my wife first and go, this is what I want to do next summer. And I did Ultraman Canada in 2011. And I had the race of my life. I was 6th overall. I was 20 minutes from second place. That is amazing. And I was like, this is my new flavor. So. I
like how you said that all I have to do is run a slow marathon, which is 4 hours.
Well, yeah. Right. If I hustle, it's like 3:20 something. Oh, so wow. Yeah, like 4 hours is dialed back a little bit, right? It's only a 10K. It's a 1 hour 10K 4 times. Like, I can run a 45-minute 10K.
You make it sound so simple. So, because I've gone through a marathon twice, I'm like, I'm never doing this again. So anyway, you can continue.
No, well, we all have our thing that we can do, right? I mean, I used to run a gym, and there's guys that can bench press a house. Like, there's no way I'm even going to look at trying that. So we all have a thing we can do, you know, like my accountant, like there's no way in the world I ever want to do what he does. I bring him all the stuff and he goes, woo, and it's magic, it's done. Great. You're good at that. I'm good at suffering for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm good at. I don't quit. I just keep trucking. And
so you did your first Ultraman in 2011.
11, yeah.
And then you did another one after that.
Yeah, so in 2011, I did Ultraman Canada, which was phenomenal. And literally a couple weeks after that, I think it was 2 weeks after that, we were in the fertility clinic in Calgary because my wife and I have been trying to have a baby for like 15 years. And we did that whole medical process and my wife got pregnant. And so that was amazing. So in April 2012, we had my son after 15 years of trying. And so 2012, I didn't do any racing. I was dad. I took as much time off work as I could. It was brilliant. But by January 2013, I was like,
that itch comes back.
Oh, the baby seems good. You seem good. Can I race? And my wife was like, yes, please, actually, because you drive me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my wife's amazing. She's super supportive. She gets that when I train and when I race, I'm a better me for her. So it's, yeah, because training and not necessarily racing, but physical fitness training, it's an outlet for our stress. It lets us have a place for all of that energy to go, right? Because like in our society these days, we marinate in stress.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't exercise, it's got nowhere to go and it just becomes toxic. So training is brilliant for that. Like when I go out for a long bike ride or a long swim or a long run, doesn't matter. At the start of it, there's a lot of noise. Mm-hmm. And by the time I'm done, it's just calm. And it's like meditation. Beautiful. So
I heard
I went back in 2013.
Before you said when you did your very first race and your wife saw it in your eyes, she knew that this is what you're going to be doing. Now, she saw it in your eyes when you were lining up. Do you know that's what you were like? Did it feel like this is my zone? This is what I'm born to do, and this is what I'm going to be doing forever?
Yeah, it's just I love racing. Oh, and there's just alive. Like you're just super alive. There's that feeling when you're standing on the shore about to plunge into the lake or the ocean or the river or whatever the race is at, and every part of you is just alert and ready to go, and you're just so focused. And I love that feeling, and I love the purity of racing. I love trying to be my best amongst other people that are trying to be their best, and it's a feeling I don't get anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So then you got back into the Ultraman in 2013?
2013, yeah. So I applied to go to the World Championship. So I had earned my spot in 2011, and I chatted with the race directors and said, 2012 is not going to happen, where I was just having a baby, and they said no problem. So I reached out and I applied in 2013 because Ultraman World Championships is an application race. They only allow 40 people in the world. Wow. So you apply, and they look at the races you've done, the speed you've done them at, and they also look at your personality. They want to know that you're in this for the right reasons. Because Ultraman's a different world. Ironman is a status symbol kind of a thing for a lot of people. I remember a guy in Penticton Ironman, and he was a business owner there, and he joked. And maybe I don't want this to be unkind. I didn't say it, he said it, but it's kind of funny. He said, if you want to make most of the Ironman athletes happy, all you have to do is build a hall of mirrors on the way to check in. and it's funny, but that personality exists in Ironman. It's funny that way. But when you get to Ultraman, that's gone. Like there's just none of that. It's not about posturing. It's not about, look at me, I did this. Nobody cares. Like there's 40 people in the world. It's not on television. There's no prize money. Everybody gets the same t-shirt and the same medal. Nobody cares. You do it because you love the sport and because you really want to see what you're made of, and you really want to see if you can pull this off. And we help each other. The whole race, everybody helps everybody. Like we share, like if there's an athlete that has a flat, my crew will give them a new tire. That happened to me in 2018. I had a front flat going down the hill and I pulled over, and Jeremy was on Gorav's team, and he just ran up, Jeremy Howard, and he's like, well, he was at the van because I pulled over, obviously front flat tire, you gotta stop. And I thought, well, my crew van's way behind me, I guess I'll pull the tire off. And then I hear this, what's wrong? And I was like, flat front. And he just went in the van, grabbed Gorav's tire, jogged up the hill, chunked it into my forks, we clicked it on, and got on my bike and left.
Wow.
Like, who does that? I'm ahead of his athlete. I'm beating his athlete. And he helped me with the front tire. That's just what you do. It's helpful. It's family. In the Hawaii, the word is ohana, and we're all just out to help each other.
Very, very cool. So then you finished the 2013, and then came the big one.
Yeah. So 2013, I was 21st in the world, and when I went to Kona to the World Championships in 2013, I was like this little kid going, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. I wonder what's going to happen. I hope I can finish. This is a really hard race. These people are so good. What am I even doing here?" I kind of felt like that. Like, I remember one time I was talking to a couple of the athletes, and I was talking to Amber, and she's like won it 3 times and set the women's record in 2 of the Ultramans, like Ultraman Canada, Ultraman Kona. And I was just like, "Hi, how are you? I'm Scott. Are you doing the race?" "Oh, me too." "Oh, really? I'm really excited." And she's like, "Have you done it before?" I'm like, "No." I was just chatting it up. She talked to me for half an hour. Never mentioned she's the record-holding world champion. Just never came up. Like, they're that people. So in 2013, I finished 21st overall, and I thought, holy cow! If I trained harder or smarter, I could probably do well at this. So I set my sights on the 2015 race because it's expensive to do. By the time you go to Hawaii and bring your crew and rent a house and rent a van, it's not a cheap race. So I set myself sights on 2015. I hired a new coach, Craig Percival from Australia, who's amazing. He was 2nd overall by like 6 minutes in 2014. And we went to the race in 2015 with the goal of being top 5.
Wow.
And we were on it. Like, it's funny, when I watched the videos of us racing in 2015, like, there were no wasted seconds. I was hammering everything. And we were doing really well. And I was 10th in the world on day 2, and I was hunting. I had just passed Gary Wang from the US, Adam Fox from Australia, and Peter Hudson from Australia. And I was just gunning it. And I knew who was ahead of me, and I was hunting. And I was going about 70K an hour, 68.9 on my Garmin. And it was raining a little bit. It's going down a bit of a hill. And apparently there was algae on the bridge deck. And I woke up 3.5 days later in the brain trauma unit in a different island in Oahu. So yeah, that went differently.
So if you had to do something different, would it be kind of stick to the plan kind of thing and not go hunting at that time? Or how would you have envisioned that going a little bit different?
No, I wouldn't change anything as far as that goes. Still hunting. One of the decisions I did make was on these bridges, there's tons and tons of these little bridges, and they don't have a shoulder. They do have a sidewalk on the right side. And so I would go up and over the sidewalk and down to stay out of traffic. And when I raced again in 2018, the traffic can just bloody move. Because what happened was I went up on the bridge. We know kinetically, I went onto the bridge sidewalk, and when I corrected my wheel a little bit to the left, it slid out.
Oh, I see.
Because I clearly put my hand down, because I dislocated, sprained, broke my arm in half, shattered my shoulder, broke 5 ribs, and then started to flip. Like, if you picture going down the road in a convertible car at 70K an hour and then just get out, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. So, but probably one of the biggest things, and you haven't seen the film yet, and I'll make sure you do soon here. One of the big pieces that I worked on, along with the physical recovery, was the biggest thing for my mind once I started to come around and could be cognizant and stuff. again was, well, why did I crash? Because I've had enough races in the past where I was on the verge of doing really well, and then something bizarre would happen and I would do okay. And that happened a lot of times where it's like, well, what's going on here? Because I really believe, I'm very passionate about that we are ultimately responsible for every part of our life, even and especially the things we don't like. We create everything. Our energy creates everything. And I thought, why did I create a crash? Why did I do that? Like, what are you doing here? And I pondered that question for a while. And eventually I went to see a man named Inge Jarl Clausen. And Inge lives in Germany. He's Austrian. And he does something called vegetative training, which is kind of like TRE in North America called trauma release experience. And it's just this whole ancient method of breathing and reliving trauma and releasing it from the body and stuff like that. And he processed me through a lot of things. And we really kind of figured out that I was self-sabotaging. Like every time I was just about to succeed, there was a part of me that was super uncomfortable with that and it just interrupted. And we kind of broke down where that comes from. And there's a lot of different theories. In my case, when I was born, I was put out for adoption. My mom at the time was like 17 years old. She wasn't capable of having a child, so she made the really difficult decision to send me out for adoption. And so I was born, they snatched me away, and then they did an assessment, and I had a hiatus hernia in my esophagus, so I was defective.
Mm.
In a sense, I wasn't cleared for adoption in, like, it's 1969, right? Things were different back then. So I spent 6 months in a hospital waiting for this hernia to resolve before I could be cleared to be adopted. And so then there's a psychological condition called abandonment syndrome. So because when you're a baby and you're born, like your mom is just with you all the time.
Right.
That eye contact, there's nursing, there's feeding, there's cuddling, there's all that stuff. I didn't get any of that. I was in a hospital, and nurses are amazing, but there's shift changes and you're on break and there's somebody's coding down the hall, and like it's not the same as being in your mom's arms. And so your brain hardwires to that environment because that's what our species does. And so the theory is that I hardwired, if you want attention, you have to be in pain. You have to scream till you're in pain. That's because that's what the baby did. Scream till it was in pain, and the nurse came. And so that's what Inge woke me up to. He said, yeah, like you did this to get attention. I was like, okay, that's not good.
So did you kind of track back to all the other instances in your life? They go, okay, that actually fits there, and it fits there, and it fits there?
Oh yeah, and I had been aware of that because I'd already been open to it. I had already started, because I'm such a big fan of that ultimate responsibility element. I was in a place of wondering, and this really confirmed it, which was really powerful because now that I recognized it, you can stop doing it, which is better because hurting yourself and self-sabotage is just not good.
So would you say that this realization and meeting Inge and going through this whole process is the silver lining of what happened?
100%. Absolutely. 100%. There's no question. My life has been so much better since I've better realized who I am. And that was in 2018 that I met Inge. And since then, my life it's unbelievable the number of ways I have stopped punishing myself.
So if you went back in time and said, okay, this is what's going to happen, but you're going to get this, do you think you're going to make the same decision?
Oh yeah. Because I do love racing. I love triathlon. I love all the things that it gives me. I love the amazing people that I've met. That's all fantastic. But I race differently now. Now I don't race to beat the crap out of myself and prove how much I can hurt. I race because I enjoy it. And it actually lets me go faster. It's fascinating. And it's very common in in high competitive world. It's really common. Like I remember talking to Inga about this, and Inga coaches people on the Tour de France, people that are worth millions a year and stuff. And he was telling me this one guy that he was working with. He said, "Yeah, I have to stop training. You know, if I train you more, you quit. You quit the whole thing." And the guy's like, "No, I want to resolve this." He's like, "Okay." So he finished it, and he quit.
Wow.
He quit Tour de France because he didn't need to prove to his father, blah, 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 blah. All of that dialogue was gone. And now he's like, I don't need to do this anymore.
Wow.
So that's powerful stuff.
Very. So you went back in 2018, and then did you do another one after that too, or you're doing other races now?
No, I haven't done another Ultraman yet. I like to kind of do them every 2 years, budget-wise. And so the intention was to do one in 2020, but everything got canceled this year. I had an Ironman, a marathon, an ultra run. I had a bunch of stuff all on the list, and it just all went. So that's how that goes. Yeah.
I'm gonna backtrack all the way to the beginning now. And during that time, you said you were overweight, you were stressed out, and wasn't it kind of, well, not shocking, but kind of obvious? But it took a long time for one doctor to finally tell you you need to eat right and you need to exercise. You would think that after you go to 2, 3, 4 doctors, that one of them would have said that already.
You'd think.
So then,
that's been an interesting discovery, like as a trainer and as I work to help people, over and over and over and over again, because I speak to high schools all the time on fitness and nutrition. And when I explain nutrition to the high schools in the purest sense, in the easiest way to digest it, you can see them going, oh, that makes so much sense, because nutrition is not understood by most people. It's not understood by doctors. I've asked several GPs. I'm like, honestly, I've heard rumors, but for real, how much do you study nutrition when you go to become a doctor? Like hardly at all.
Wow.
It's a tiny little component. We cover like the basics of the food guide. Like I don't want to say it's a joke, but it's a joke. Like they just don't. And nutrition comes so much into culture and belief and fantasy, and well, that star did that, so that must be good. And it's a mess. People don't know how to eat. They don't. And when I got really fat and sick, at the time in the 90s, I was following the trend du jour, which was you got to eat low fat. I tell you, Fong, I had low fat everything. Everything in our house was low fat. Low fat, low fat, low fat, low fat. Well, do you know what they replaced the fat with? Sugar. So now you're eating low fat, high carb. Well, of course you got fat. But that was the dogma then, that all the doctors were preaching it, all the food labels were preaching it, all the health shows were preaching it. Low fat, low fat, low fat. That's the reason we have cholesterol. That's the reason we have a heart attack. We got to eat low fat. We have subsequently realized that is a load of garbage, but now we're into the next load of garbage, right? Now we're into, you got to go keto and you got to eat 75% fat, 20% protein, 5% carbs. Carbs are bad. No, they're not. Just people, anyway, I get passionate.
No, I can tell.
Nutrition to this day is still confusing. And so it's my mission to try to explain that every diet works. All of them. It doesn't matter whether you're vegan, vegetarian, keto, or starving to death and you ate what you found. The human body is designed to survive. The question just becomes, does this diet get you where you want to go? And what are the consequences of it? Because every diet has a consequence. Right? You will survive on a low-fat diet. You'll probably get fat. You will survive on a keto diet. You're probably going to have long-term issues with organs from lack of nutrients because you're not getting enough vitamins and minerals. You're not. Like, so every diet has a consequence. I mean, there was a lady in, I think, New York, and she was an influencer to the vegan community, right? She had, I think it was 350,000 Instagram followers, and she's like just the big vegan everything. And she's like a total vegan icon.
And she started having all kinds of health problems. And she's getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. And she connected with somebody that's like, you need to eat meat. And she's like, and had this whole big thing. But she trusted this person enough to go, all right, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. So she went on a carnivore diet for a week. Well, carnivore diet's all meat, no vegetables, just like and all of her health symptoms, all of her problems went away immediately. They went away. And I'm here to tell you that if she stays on the carnivore diet, in a while, she will have different health problems. Because when you're on the vegan diet, you're getting an abundance of fruits and veggies, but you're a little bit low in proteins and amino acids. When you go on the carnivore diet, you're in abundance of proteins and amino acids, but you're really deficient in vitamins and minerals. So
in the end, you need balance.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of balance. I'm a really big fan. All of the things. Some of them lots, some of them not, some of them more often. Christmas, giver, you know.
No, during that period of time when you're swapping over to having that good nutrition, that good fitness, there must have been a lot of like difficult times where you look at that sandwich or you look at that burger, you're like, oh, I really want that, or look at those chips, or I don't want to wake up and work out today. How did you overcome that? Was there something that you put in front of your face every single day and or reminded yourself every single day that if I miss this, then this is going to happen. If I miss this again, then this, like, what did you do there?
That's a great question. It was really hard. It was really hard because at an office of like 30 people, when they all found out that Scotty wasn't going to be eating junk food anymore, they're like, yeah, right. Right. Come on, Mr. Donut for breakfast. Get out of here. Get it. And they would try to make me fail for the first while. And it's funny, the more they did that, the more my resolve was crystal clear. Because I had just come to a point where I was like, I'm done with this. And I watched a movie at the time. There was a lady at the gym that I had joined in Vera. She handed me this VHS tape. Remember those? Probably don't. Pretend it's like a Netflix film. You can find it on YouTube, and it's called Body of Work. Body of Work by Bill Phillips. And it was about the first ever 12-week fitness challenge where he gave away a Lamborghini. And I watched that, and I watched these people go from fat to fit, and I was bald. And I was like, my life will never be like this again. I am done. And I watched that video over and over and over. I bet you I watched it 100 times. I watched it on my trainer, on the bike, in the morning, every day. And it just kept motivating me. So one of the big keys, first of all, you have to be clear on your goal. You have to be really clear on what that looks like, what it tastes like, what it smells like, what it feels like, what your world will be like, what your energy will be like, what waking up will feel like, what you really need to picture it. I took a photo of a fit person and I cut their head off and I put my face on it. Now this was in the 90s, so I used like glue stick, but nowadays you can do it in Photoshop or whatever. It looks really great. Put your face on a fit body and stare at it all the time. And you literally reprogram your mind. I'm going to look like that. I'm going to look like that. I'm going to look like that. Because your brain is always just asking, what do you want? It's a servant. What do you want? It asks you every day. And what you focus on, you get more of. And, you know, when I hurt myself, there was a time where it's like, what do you want? Like, well, I want my family to notice me. Okay, well, if we crash and you nearly die, they'll notice you. Because it doesn't have a filter, right? It's not rational.
Yeah.
There are better ways to get noticed. But so you have to reprogram. You have to work with that. So watching podcasts of amazing people interviewing other people inspires you. You got to do that. You got to do that all the time. You have to put in the good stuff. You got to put in the good stuff. So those were the pieces I put in place. I had a picture of myself to stare at. I was really clear on my goal. The haters motivated me to try harder. And every time I got a little more fit, I felt a little better. And that started to build. People wait for motivation to hit, like, oh, I'm just not motivated to train. You never will be, ever. You have to train. And then that will be motivating. And then you got to train again. Because so every next success you have motivates you. That's where that comes from. This is really fun, Fong. I can keep going and going. The purest of your question, did I miss anything that you asked?
No, it's all good. Like, as long as you're happy with answering them, I'm just gonna keep on asking.
Please, yeah. I'm so passionate about helping people. I I love it. I coach people online, and I love to share. I mean, it's been 22 years I've been studying this, and it's so much better. It's tragic in a sense. I was talking with a lady yesterday. We lost a former gym member. He passed away on Saturday. He had a heart attack, and it still hurts. It's sad when you see that. He's quite a heavy man, mid-60s, just recently retired, and had a heart attack and died. It sucks. And I want to help people, but it's hard because he was pretty stubborn. He didn't want to be helped. He didn't want to quit smoking, and he liked his food. And there's only so much you can do. But I had this fantasy, and this is what I was talking to my friend about. I've had this fantasy forever, and it's super illogical, but it is what it is. I wish that there was a way through technology that we could swap brains for 6 hours. So you could live in my body. The waiver form would have to be extensive.
Yeah.
You can't do this. You do not do that. Right. Okay. Fair enough. But I would love to switch brains with somebody for 6 hours and have somebody unfit like I was, and just, it's like taking a Ferrari for a test drive and going, this is awesome. I want one of these, right? If you could take a healthy body for a test drive for 6 hours, you would realize what you're putting up with, and you'd stop it. Being unhealthy sucks.
Yeah, it's very true. And most people don't realize that A, they're unhealthy, and B, that they could do something about it. They just don't put that mind into it, or that they don't find the passion of realizing of what they could actually overcome and what they can actually achieve.
Yeah, because it's all they know. And it's, I don't know, just what it is. It doesn't have to be. It can be so much better.
Yeah.
It can be so much better. And I wish I could share that with people and show them more how that can just impact everything. Everything in your life is better if you're fit and healthy. Everything.
Yeah. Now, during that period of time, you got your mind going. You found the passion of transforming your physique. You're transforming your fitness. How was that mindset comparable to the mindset you had when you were recovering from that crash in 2015?
It's all the same thing. I used all of those pieces after the crash to rebuild. It's interesting. There's a video of me in the brain trauma unit in Oahu that my buddy Lyle took. So Lyle was my crew chief, and when I crashed and they put me in the ambulance, of course, he jumped in the ambulance and came with me to the Waimea airport. And the race director went up to my wife, who was at the day 2 finish line with my 3-year-old, waiting for daddy to come in. And they said, Scott's been in an accident, and we're going to get somebody to drive to the hospital, because it was a 45-minute drive to the Waimea hospital from Hawaii. And they said at the hospital, they're like, yeah, he's in bad shape. We've got to take him to Oahu. We've got to fly him to Oahu, the brain trauma unit, immediately. He's in trouble. And Hillary's like, I can't go. I can't grab my 3-year-old and go to it. Wait, what? And my buddy Lyle was just like, I'll go. So yeah, Lyle jumped on a plane, and he slept in a chair in my room for 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's an amazing human being. And he was starting to lie to the nurses, because they kept putting me on heavy drugs. And they'd come in to give me a bunch more, morphine and everything. He's like, oh no, he already had it. Oh, another nurse gave it to him. He's good. He doesn't need any. And then I started to come around. I started to wake up, and I started to remember who I was, and it was a big deal. Wow. So Lyle filmed me in the hospital, and it's a little rough to watch, but I slurring my words, and I was like, oh, I'm okay. Because at the time, they didn't know I broke my arm in half. They didn't x-ray far enough up, so they didn't know I broke it in half. And they said, you broke your clavicle, but it'll heal. But it was in 4 pieces. There's no way it'll heal. And they just said, you got a bit of a concussion. Well, it turns out I had the worst brain injury you can get. I had a diffuse axonal injury with a point impact to the base of the skull and a hemorrhage to the frontal lobes. Like, it was a horrible brain injury. They're like, well, you got a concussion, but just go home to Canada. That was what they did. And so, but in this video, so I've been in the hospital 3 days, and in this, 3 days. This was Monday that he videoed me. I crashed Saturday, and in the video, I said, yeah, I'm a little banged up, but I'll race again. I'll be back. Like like there was never a time where I wasn't going back to Ultraman, and that never wavered. When I got back to Canada, the flight was horrible because of my headache and everything. And of course, the 3.5-year-old who's grumpy and miserable because it's 10 o'clock at night. You get on the plane in Hawaii, come back, it's a red eye and all that kind of stuff. And I went to my doctor the next day, and they're like, well, let's get some x-rays. And then they're like, holy crap, you need surgery. And so then I'm in the hospital in Canada for 7 days, fixing everything. And once I got back, I started doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy treatments immediately after surgery to heal my brain, which was unbelievable. It healed all the other stuff too faster. So that was amazing. But the whole time I was like, I need to get back to racing. I need to get back to healthy. I need to get back to good. One of the biggest discoveries I made during that time was realizing how badly the crash had affected other people. Specifically Lyle and Peter and Adam. So Peter and Adam, I had just passed them, and Peter wrote all about it. He described it, and he talks about it in the movie, but he basically was down in his aero bars and he heard this sickening thud and this guttural noise, and he looks up and sees me flipping down the highway at 70, and he swerves to miss me kind of thing and pulls over and runs back, and Adam comes up, and I'm laying in the gutter and my head's twisted around farther than a head should go, and my arms behind my back in a way that it doesn't fit, and there's this blood pool growing from my head, and they're just like, yeah, he's dead. And I wasn't breathing. I don't even like to think about it. But what I realized was, and then so Lyle and Doug, my crew, were up the road, and they're like, well, he should be here by now. And then you're like, well, yeah, but so where's Peter and Adam and Gary? Like, if one of them had a flat tire, why are all 4 of them missing? Something's wrong. And then they circle back, and then, of course, Lyle comes around the corner of a vehicle, and I'm laying on the ground in a pool of blood half the size of my body, and he just dropped to his knees. He's like, he's dead. And it was powerful to realize how much that impacted those guys. Because in January, I was very much aware of my own recovery. Like, I was trying to get to the point where I could brush my own teeth. You know, like, I was in a mess, and my business was in a mess because the province was in a tremendous recession in 2016 in January. Things were not good. And so I was mired in my own little thing. And then I realized, wait a second, I don't think Lyle's okay. And we started to have a chat, and I realized he's not okay at all. He had PTSD, like, big time. And then I thought, wait a second, I reached out and I called Peter in Australia. And yeah, like, he had an Ultraman Australia was coming up in May, and he's in it. And he said he would put his cycling gear on and he would walk out to the front yard with his bike and stand there and bawl for 10 minutes and just go back in the house and put it on the trainer. He couldn't ride his bike.
Wow.
Just every time he would see me crashing. And I realized that I needed to get better, not only for me, but for those guys. Like, every time I posted a video about me making some little notch of recovery, like a video of me riding my bike with my arm Velcroed in the sleeve and I'm riding a stationary bike, they felt better. And then I'd Velcro my arm and go for a little run, and they felt better. And every time I healed, they got better. And I became really clear that not only did I need to get back to the race for me, I needed to get back to the race for them.
Wow.
Because we were all healing at the same time.
Absolutely powerful. Like, when you got to that starting line again, what was that like? And then also, did the whole incident affected the way you approached the race?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was that moment of starting again was unbelievably powerful. It's always intimidating because you're standing in the ocean in Kona, Hawaii, at Kailua Bay, and you're about to swim 10 kilometers of open ocean, and swimming's my weakest thing. That's always intimidating. It's, to me, the swim is like, oh God, when is this part done? Can we just, like, the swim is tough. It's tough, and it's salt water, and there's 6-foot swells, and there's a current against you, and it's, you know, it's 3-ish. Like, my longest swim in Kona is almost 5 hours, and it's awful. It's so hard. But so there's all those pieces, but the support, it was huge, and the excitement and the nerves, all kind of good stuff. But that was amazing. My preparation was very different though for the race, because it was kind. I was training really hard. I was still training like 20, 28 hours a week, and still doing 8-hour bike rides and 7-hour run training sets and stuff like that. But it wasn't punishment. It was construction for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So it very much felt different. And when I raced in 2018, it was very different. I stopped a bunch and chatted to my crew, and I looked around, and every time I saw my family, I stopped and hugged them. And like, I was slower. You know, I certainly wasn't breaking any records, but I wanted to finish.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily care how fast.
Wow.
And I'm still 25th in the world. I still did pretty good, but
you enjoyed the moment completely.
I enjoyed the whole weekend.
Yeah.
I enjoyed all of the moments. It was very different. And yeah, I want to go back, and I want to do well again. Like, I want to go back and go, okay, I want to race again and not have it be a tourist version. I want to race again, but with a different energy. And who knows if that can come to pass. Like, I don't know, with things going on in the world, I don't know what it looks like on the other side of this. I hope that everybody comes back to their senses, and we get a little perspective on all of this and settle down, but who knows?
No, I know you have this film coming out, and you didn't actually start this film with this in mind, or this in mind. So how did that transition? And then, do you believe the film became better or just different?
Oh yeah. I reached out to Drew Kenworthy from Shoelace Media. He is a local filmmaker in Alberta here, and he had made lots of little snippet movies and commercials and wedding photography and stuff. And he had done a couple of neat little things. He had done a little documentary for a friend of mine named Cable McElderry. He used to own Jim and Red Deer, called Change, profiling 5 people, I think, that got fit. And I knew Drew, and he'd done some commercials for me. I used to run a race called the Zombie Run, which is a 3K obstacle course run where zombies chase you and try to get rules off your belt. And the Silver Lake Triathlon, which I ended up taking over for a few years. I worked with him on doing that. And I called him up after watching the Banff Mountain Film Festival. And I said, hey, Drew, I want to make a video about me going to the World Championships in 2015. I think it'd be a cool little 20-minute submission to Banff. I think it'd be great. What do you think? And he's like, yeah, that sounds good. So we started filming my training. I went to Arizona to training camp, as I did every February, March, and we filmed it. And I had my GoPro, and we were filming stuff. And then we started filming the race. We thought, yeah, we'll make this neat little film about this regular average guy doing this crazy big race nobody's ever heard of. And then I crashed.
Mm-hmm.
And Drew knew to keep filming. And so he got some great footage about that. And then once I got home, we were like, okay, well, let's keep filming. And there's some pretty big gaps when I was first fresh off the injuries, because it just wasn't top of mind to grab my GoPro and record stuff. But we captured a lot of powerful moments, and the film it's insanely inspiring. It's really powerful. Like, people cry, it's fantastic. Drew has this magical ability to capture stuff. It's like, how did you know to film that? You know, emotional moments that just rock you. So it's really cool.
So when's that coming? Or when do you anticipate it's coming out?
So we have the film done. We've been through lots of film festivals. We've gotten a couple of awards, and we've been nominated for Best Feature Film in the festival in Spain. And, you know, so it's done quite well in a sense. But there was a couple of spelling mistakes we wanted to fix, and one little shift we wanted to make. and this is where the story is entertainingly funny, sort of. Drew pulled out the hard drive to take it to his office and fix it, and he dropped it.
It went for a crash.
Currently in the place right now, trying to have it recovered, because it was his only copy of the functional film with all of the layers and everything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big deal. So we've had to delay. Hey, buddy, this is my son, Kaden. Want to hi?
Hi.
I had a pee.
Okay. You know what? I'll talk to you in a bit. Can you leave me for a second?
Okay.
Okay. I thought that might happen at some point. He's awesome. He's my favorite little dude in the world. But yeah, so our goal was to have it on live streaming on Vimeo on demand on November 15th, and we've now pushed that to end of November. Drew has enough stored pieces to rebuild the film from what he has. Obviously, we're hoping that the hard drive people can salvage it, but if not, he's just going to piece it back together. But that takes some time. So he's working it right now. And we have the film, like we have the actual recorded version of the film, the done version. So we have that to watch. So it's easier to put it together in a sense, but yeah, we've got to let it go.
So the best way to follow up on that and kind of keep in touch with that would be to go to your website and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, warriorcodefilm.com. We'll have all the updates on that. So we're really pushing to have it out like December 1 on streaming. So it'll be like a small fee to watch it, and you can, just how live streaming works, right? I think it's $10 and you can watch it.
Great.
So that's what we're working on.
Sounds good. Now, what would you say is the best thing about this whole athletic mindset that you have that translated over to entrepreneurship?
Everything does. It transfers so much. The willingness to completely dig in and not quit is powerful. The willingness to endure discomfort for the goal, because that's life. Running a business is flipping hard all the time. It's relentless. It doesn't matter what mood you're in. You got to get it done. Like if you got to work all day Sunday or all day every day, that's what it takes. And that mindset is the same. There's something really beautiful about strength training and endurance training, is that it doesn't care what mood you're in. It doesn't care. You just have to get it done. And you need to become strong to get through the discomfort. That's the same thing in business. Running my own business with 22 staff and 800 members and all the expenses and bills and challenges and trying to keep afloat, that's a constant race. And the parallels are all the time. You just need to have that mental willpower. And that's the beautiful gift of doing things like Ultraman and racing, stuff like that. I'd be in the snot of trying to keep my business going. And by comparison, it's kind of easy. Like a staff were just like, man, how do you work so much? I'm like, well, I need to. It's got to get done.
Yeah.
You just do. It's like your brain is a muscle, and it trains like every other muscle. You got to keep at it. You got to train it to be strong.
Right. Now, I know you're also a very big community guy.
Yeah.
You give back all the time. Is there a particular organization or group that you support a lot?
My biggest supported group that I love is Rotary International. I'm a big member of the Rotary Club. I've been Rotarian of the Year. I've been past president. I've gone to 3 different countries and delivered brand new wheelchairs to people who would never be able to get a wheelchair. And that's huge. I love that Rotary is 100% volunteer driven, and none of the funds are ever used for administration. They're they're rated the best charity in the world. I love Rotary. I'm a big fan of Rotary.
Great. Now, I know I could probably go on for another few hours with you, but I don't really want to take up that much more of your time. A few quick questions here. If you had an opportunity to tell the world one big message, what's that one message that you want to spread to everybody to know?
Oh, wow. Nothing like an easy question.
You only get one message. You already had like 15.
I know, right? Golly. It's probably from a line in Tragically Hip song. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is your life. This is your life. Don't waste it. Do epic stuff. Like, take the chance and do it now, not later. Don't wait. Do it now and do the big, epic, crazy thing you're afraid to do. Go for it. You gotta go for it.
Sounds good. Reply with some of the fastest answers you can think of. What's the next challenge for you?
Build a new career now that I've closed my gym.
Okay. One song that you would like to listen to for the rest of your life, if it was.
Oh man, this is a horribly awesome question. That's impossible. There's so many of them.
If it's one song that's stuck in your car and you can't change the car, you can't change the radios, you can't change anything. It's you're only listening to this one song. What song would that be?
You know, if I was gonna have to listen to it forever, it would have to be classical music because it would drive me nuts. Anything else? But I love Machine Head by Bush X. I love pretty much anything by Billy Joel. I love Motley Crue. God, that's an impossible question. I love music, and there's so much of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll give you a pass on that. If you get an opportunity to run with anybody in the world, celebrity, dead or alive, what would that one person be that you want to run, let's say, a marathon with, or just a happy jog with?
That's such a good question. Oh, there's so many. Controversially, I would have to say Lance Armstrong, because as much as he's steeped and mired in chaos, I still admire his work ethic. And, you know, everybody's, we do drugs. I'm like, literally every single person he raced was on the same drugs at the same time.
Yeah.
Literally all of them. So he's still the hardest working, most focused, best athlete in that arena where everybody was on the same playing field. I think it would be great to go for Run with Lance.
Awesome. So now Lance is in your kitchen. He's hungry.
Yeah.
What are you preparing for him? What's your special?
I have a lot of specialties, but these days I have an amazing banana muffin that I've been recrafting. It's got raisins, chocolate chips, pecans. It's phenomenal. It's delicious. I would give him a banana muffin, and I know he likes carbs.
Awesome. And my last question is, what is success like? I got 4 random items here. Give me a number between 1 and 4.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. So how is success like a bird bath?
Like a bird bath. It's like a bird bath because you jump in it, splash around in it. It doesn't last forever, and you better have fun with it because it's not always going to be sunny. That water's not always going to be thawed. So if you can jump in, that's success. You splash around, you get it in everywhere, and you enjoy it, and you smile, and you sing while you're doing it. How's that?
Well done. Well, thank you very much for your story, your advice, and the way you go through life is very amazing. So thank you very much for your time.
Oh, pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity to speak and to hopefully inspire some people to be awesome.
Awesome. Now, what's the best way to reach out to you? And I know like we have the website there for your film. What can other people do to help with the film or with everything else that you do? Because I know you give back a lot.
Yeah, so warriorcodefilm.com is a great way to reach out and connect with me. Obviously, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and all that kind of good stuff, so I'm pretty searchable. I just want to help more people. I do coach a few people online for fitness and health. And yeah, I'm trying to make a difference in the world. We're doing more and more stuff with Rotary as COVID permits. But yeah, connecting and watching the film would be great. Like if you see the preview, so if you watch it on the link on warriorcoachfilm.com, like it, comment on it, share it. I'd love to see more people see it. I think in this day and age, the world needs to see more hopeful films of people overcoming challenges and living a big, fat, awesome life, because we need some good information. A steady diet of bad news is really toxic. And there's a lot of toxic people in the world right now that are in so much fear. And life is good. We need to remember life is good. So, yeah.
Well said. Thank you very much. Any last words? If not, then that's it. I know I would love to do this again sometime. I could probably go for another few hours, but We have stuff to do, right?
That's right. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I really appreciate the chance, Fong. It's great to chat.
Great, thank you. So he is Scott McDermott. My name is Fong Chua. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you next time.